South Korea's KOSPI benchmark stock index surpassed the 6,000 mark for the first time this morning, led by a rally of chip makers including Samsung and SK hynix. U.S. President Donald Trump began to deliver his speech to Congress, his first State of the Union since his second term. He opened the speech with a triumphant assessment of his first year back in the White House, declaring a golden age of America. The South Korean ambassador to the U.S. says Seoul will work with Washington to ensure trade discussions proceed in a friendly atmosphere, and noted the embassy is closely monitoring the Trump administration's follow-up measures, including additional tariffs to protect South Korean interests. Hello and thanks for joining us on Arirang News. South Korea's benchmark KOSPI broke through the 6,000 mark immediately upon opening this morning. Market heavyweight Samsung Electronics traded strongly, pushing the index into new territory. This morning, the KOSPI opened at 6,022.070, up 53.06 points, or 0.89% from the previous day. Samsung Electronics showed a 3% gain in pre-market trading, and that upward trend is continuing in the regular session. On Tuesday, Samsung Electronics and SK hynix closed above the 200,000 won and 1 million Korean won marks, respectively. And U.S. President Donald Trump has begun his first State of the Union address of his second term at the U.S. Capitol. Kicking off just after 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, the speech marks his first State of the Union since returning to office. The address comes amid growing domestic and international challenges, including tariff threats, tensions with Iran, and weak public confidence in the economy. Trump began his primetime speech by highlighting progress on economic promises, including lowering living costs and tightening immigration policies. And amid global trade uncertainties due to U.S. tariffs, South Korea is making sure the bilateral relationship remains friendly as the two work out a deal. South Korea's ambassador to the U.S. said she's closely monitoring the U.S. president's latest tariff measures to protect South Korean interests. Our Kim Do-yeon reports.
South Korean ambassador to the United States Kang says Seoul will actively work with Washington to ensure trade discussions proceed in a friendly atmosphere. Speaking to correspondents in Washington on Tuesday local time, Kang addressed the aftermath of the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling that declared reciprocal tariffs illegal and the Trump administration's subsequent move to levy new global tariffs. She emphasized that the embassy is closely monitoring the Trump administration's follow-up measures, including additional tariffs to protect South Korean interests.
We will provide support so that consultations with the U.S. can proceed in an amicable atmosphere. Regarding the refund of reciprocal tariffs already paid, which was not clearly addressed in the ruling, we will ensure accurate information is delivered to our companies in a timely manner.
Meanwhile, observers in Washington suggest the U.S. Trade Representative could launch a Section 301 investigation of Coupang's data breach case and also the Korean government's investigation of the company. That comes as interim Coupang CEO Harold Rogers attended a closed-door House hearing in Washington on Monday. A Section 301 looks for potential foreign trade practices that are deemed unfair, discriminatory, or restrictive to U.S. commerce, which could lead to additional retaliatory tariffs. However, diplomatic sources note that even if a probe begins next month, it requires hearing the Korean government's position. On the security front, Seoul and Washington are continuing discussions on implementing their joint fact sheet, which covers cooperation on nuclear power submarines and nuclear energy. Ambassador Kang affirmed that the embassy will act as a bridge to expedite these agreements, pending the passage of the Special Act on Investment in the U.S. currently in South Korea's National Assembly. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, the White House says diplomacy is President Donald Trump's first option in dealing with Iran, but stressed that he's prepared to use lethal military force if necessary. According to the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt on Tuesday, she said President Trump is the final decision maker and will act if talks fail. The U.S. has deployed significant naval forces near Iran's coast, as Trump last week gave Tehran roughly 10 to 15 days to reach a deal. Meanwhile, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is set to brief congressional leaders, known as the Gang of Eight, at the White House on the Iran situation. And the commander of U.S. Forces Korea has expressed regret to Seoul's defense minister for not briefing him promptly on recent air drills over the West Sea. In a statement on Tuesday, General Xavier Brunson said he spoke with Minister An Gyubek to clarify that notification was provided at a working level, but regretted that the minister and the JCS chairman were not briefed in time. This follows a rare standoff last week when Chinese fighter jets were dispatched in response to some 10 USFK F-16s flying between the air defense identification zones of South Korea and China. Following a complaint from Seoul about the lack of advance notice, the U.S. military ended the exercise on Thursday, 2 days earlier than planned. Local media reported that USFK apologized for the incident, but USFK denied the report, emphasizing it does not make apologies for maintaining readiness. 4 years into its war with Ukraine, Russia says it'll fight on until its goals are met, while accusing the UK and France of planning to arm Ukraine with nuclear weapons. Kyiv and its European allies reject the claims as tensions escalate and new sanctions against Moscow are announced. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
4 years after launching its invasion of Ukraine, Russia said Tuesday that it will continue fighting until it fully achieves its objectives. Moscow maintains it's open to a peaceful resolution, but insists any progress depends entirely on Kyiv's actions. The Kremlin is again demanding that Ukraine give up the Donbas region, making clear there will be no compromise on territorial issues. President Vladimir Putin accused Ukraine of obstructing peace negotiations and warned there would be consequences for any nuclear strike against Russia. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky pushed back, saying Ukraine has defended its independence for 4 years and that Putin has failed to win the war. He also urged Europe to step up pressure on Russia. At the same time, Russian intelligence has claimed that the United Kingdom and France are planning to send nuclear weapons to Ukraine. Russia's foreign intelligence agency, the SVR, alleged that London and Paris are preparing to arm Kyiv with a nuclear bomb in what it called a blatant violation of international law. The claims were amplified by Russian state media, but provided no evidence to support them. Ukraine has also strongly rejected Moscow's accusations. European leaders marked the anniversary in Kyiv, vowing not to abandon Ukraine as the war entered its 5th year. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer joined the talks by video link, saying allies must do the hard work of supporting Ukraine and increasing pressure on Moscow. The UK also announced its largest round of sanctions since the early months of the war, targeting nearly 300 Russian entities, including oil pipeline giant Transneft. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Here in South Korea, a major political showdown is unfolding at the National Assembly as an opposition-led filibuster threatens to stretch the plenary session for days. Our Bunheran has the details.
South Korea's National Assembly is heading into what could be its longest plenary session after an opposition-led filibuster was triggered by a series of controversial bills backed by the ruling party. During Tuesday's session, lawmakers first voted to approve the arrest of former Democratic Party lawmaker Kang, who is accused of accepting illegal campaign donations. The ruling party then introduced revisions to the Commercial Act, along with 3 judicial reform bills that would expand the Supreme Court, establish a new appeal system, and penalize officials accused of distorting legal rulings. As soon as the revision to the Commercial Act was reported to the floor, the People Power Party launched a filibuster with 8 bills remaining on the agenda.
The Democratic Party says it will forcibly push through the 3 bills that destroy the judiciary, but these are clearly unconstitutional laws. They are a model of a totalitarian dictatorship.
Even if the People Power Party blocks us with baseless filibusters, we will stay focused solely on the people and steadily carry out the work that needs to be done.
The plenary session came just hours after the Legislation and Judiciary Committee approved a special act on administrative integration for Jeollanam-do Province and Gwangju, led by the ruling Democratic Party. Votes on similar integration bills for Chungcheongnam-do Province and Daejeon, as well as Gyeongsangbuk-do Province and Daegu, were put on hold, with lawmakers citing the need to further assess regional public opinion. The selective passage drew sharp criticism from the People Power Party, which said it does not oppose administrative integration in principle, but accused the ruling party of fast-tracking bills for politically favorable regions without clear standards, including fiscal support. The Democratic Party pushed back, accusing the opposition of holding the bills hostage through filibusters and blocking regional development, while parliamentary rules mean only one bill can be processed per day due to the 24-hour waiting period to end debate. The political standoff is expected to drag on for its longest yet, with the DP saying it will continue to hold plenary sessions to process legislation until the end of the February extraordinary session on March 3rd. 문혜련, Arirang News.
The Korean crime thriller The Art of Sarah topped Netflix global top 10 non-English shows last week. According to Netflix on Tuesday, the show garnered 10 million views globally. It ranked first in 33 countries, not only in South Korea, but also in Japan, Thailand, and Mexico. Meanwhile, Singles Inferno Reunion, a spin-off of the Korean reality dating show Singles Inferno Season 5, ranked 7th on the top 10 non-English shows chart during the same period. And South Korea's winter sports heroes have officially returned home after competing at the 2026 Milan Cortina Winter Olympics. Officials and fans gathered to congratulate the team and honor their efforts, as the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism hosted a welcoming ceremony. Our Chung Il-im was there.
Flight KE928 from Milan arrived at Incheon International Airport around 4 p.m. local time on Tuesday, bringing home the main Milan Cortina Winter Olympics delegation of 53 people. Athletes walked through the arrival gate to cheers, applause, and homecoming banners, marking the end of their Olympic journey. This returning group contained some of the nation's most followed ice athletes, including 14 short track speed skaters, 11 speed skaters, and 4 figure skaters. A grand welcoming ceremony was held at Terminal 2 to celebrate their arrival. South Korea's Culture Minister Choi Hee-young, alongside Korean Sport and Olympic Committee President Yoo Seung-min, was on site to personally greet the delegation. Choi presented flowers to the head of the delegation, Lee Soo-kyung, and delivered congratulatory remarks.
Every hard-fought moment has given young, aspiring athletes new possibilities and courage for the future. I would like to extend my deepest respect and gratitude to all the national team athletes and officials.
During the results report, Lee announced that South Korea wrapped up the games with 3 gold, 4 silver, and 3 bronze medals. She highlighted a historic milestone, declaring South Korea the first Asian country to hold Olympic gold medals across ice, snow, and sliding sports. In the athlete interviews that followed, short track gold medalist Kim Gi-lee drew laughter from the crowd when asked about her special ride home, a Lamborghini SUV provided as a nod to her racing nickname, Lamborghini.
I am so thankful and happy that so many people welcomed us as soon as we arrived in Korea. I'm thrilled that my nickname led to such a special connection. It's my first time riding a car like this, so I'm really curious and can't wait to get in.
Officials say they will continue supporting athletes as they prepare for future international competitions. Tuesday's ceremony marks not just a celebration of results, but a recognition of the athletes' hard work and commitment. Chung Il-im, Arirang News.
This is the world now, bringing you everything you need to know from around the globe. Record-breaking rains in southeastern Brazil have led to 25 deaths in a single day. Officials confirmed the death toll on Tuesday after torrential downpours triggered massive landslides and flooding. The disaster hit the city of Juiz de Fora hardest, where rescuers are currently searching for 43 missing people. The Brazilian government declared a state of calamity as rainfall levels reached double the monthly average for February. More than 140 firefighters have been deployed to lead humanitarian relief and reconstruction efforts. In the United States, NBC Today show host Savannah Guthrie is offering a $1 million reward to find her 84-year-old mother, Nancy, who vanished 3 weeks ago. The FBI and Arizona police suspect a kidnapper snatched Nancy Guthrie from her Tucson home on January 31st. Surveillance footage showed a masked man outside the residence on the night she vanished, and authorities said drops of her blood were found on the front porch. Savannah Guthrie issued a desperate plea Tuesday, stating her family needs closure regardless of the outcome. Alongside the reward, the family is donating $500,000 to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children to support other families in crisis. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum on Tuesday guaranteed total safety for the 2026 FIFA World Cup despite a surge in cartel violence. The capture and death of top cartel leader El Mencho recently sparked arson attacks and roadblocks across Jalisco state, forcing local soccer leagues to postpone matches. FIFA said it is closely monitoring the situation. New roadblocks appeared overnight, but President Sheinbaum said the situation is getting back to normal and security forces are working to safeguard public safety. Mexico is set to host 13 of 104 World Cup matches, with the tournament opening on June 11. French President Emmanuel Macron on Tuesday accepted the resignation of Louvre Museum director Laurence Descartes following a massive security failure. The world's most visited museum has faced intense scrutiny since October, when thieves stole jewels worth $102 million. Critics, including the state auditor's office, have questioned security and infrastructure spending. The museum has also recently had water leaks and strikes over pay. President Macron praised the resignation as an act of responsibility necessary to modernize security and restore calm and new momentum to the Paris landmark. Chu Ji-han, Arirang News.
Temperatures will rebound nicely today, with afternoon highs jumping 5 to 10 degrees Celsius higher than yesterday. But you know, it was a chilly morning, so from now on, we need to be aware of big gaps between lows and highs and do dress accordingly. And thankfully, air quality will stay in normal range despite big rise in highs. And yesterday's wet weather helped to ease the dryness in most regions. But as the capital area had a rain-free day, dry weather advisories remain in place for the capital region and most of Gangwon-do province. And this afternoon, Seoul will be getting up to 15 degrees under sunny skies, but Daegu, Busan both topping out at 14 degrees. Busan and Jeju will be rather under cloudy skies. And afternoon temperatures will stay on the milder side, while Jeju Island and east of Gangwon-do province will see more winter mix through early next week.
That's all we have for today's noon edition of Arirang News. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Stay tuned.